Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. Recently, I have published some videos where I show crazy things that I have found in charity shops, and I've had so much fun doing those, I'm doing another one, whether you like it or not. And today, again, we are going to look at some really weird old games. Not really the sort of thing that I would imagine most of my viewers are going to particularly like, but there is one thing that I will save for the end of the video which may be of interest. Before we get to that, here's the nonsense. This is Walt Disney's Snow White game with special magic mirror from 1980, published by Golden. This is a game I had never even heard of, but for £4 English, how could I possibly leave it on the shelf? It has classic Snow White artwork, and as you can imagine, it's a game for children. Children that fall within a very specific age bracket, as you may have noticed. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 7 to 12. A very small window of opportunity to enjoy this game, if enjoy is the right word. Let's take a look inside. First things first, defying all the laws of nature, this game is actually 100% complete. And this is the board. What a ghastly, garish mess it is. It has some really nice artwork obviously in the middle, but the actual track that you move around is awful. But we have here a starting place for Snow White, a starting place for her prince, and up here we have the magic mirror, which is a foil sticker. We get 2 movers, one for Snow White, one for the prince. Even though this is a game for up to 4 players, only 2 movers. They go on the starting spaces. We then have a bunch of cardboard discs. These are spread out on the board at the start of the game, and at certain points when you land on a red square you will flip them over. There are 2 things on the reverse. You either get an apple or you get the evil witch. You get a lovely cardboard spinner. There is no dice in this game. Pow! And you will see there are numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4, and also mirror. If you get a number, you will move that many spaces. If you get the mirror, you get to draw a mirror card. And the mirror cards look like this. As you can see, they don't make a lot of sense unless you can read backwards, but that is why we have a magic mirror on the board. If you draw a magic mirror card, you place it with the dot facing down on the magic mirror, and then you read in the reflection, like so. Whoa, look at that. Move forward 2 spaces. Fantastic. And finally, we have our rules sheet. A quick read of this will reveal what I am sure everybody has suspected all along. This game is terrible. On your turn, you will spin the spinner. If you land on the mirror space, you will draw a mirror card. Otherwise, you will move Snow White and you will move her clockwise around the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. If you land on a red square, you will draw a tile. If you draw an apple, play will continue with the next player around the table, and they will continue moving Snow White. The aim of the game is actually to poison Snow White so that Prince Charming can free her. To do that, you have to find one of the tokens that has the evil queen on it. Once you have done that, Snow White falls into a slumber. From that point on, instead of moving the Snow White piece, you will move the Prince Charming piece. Prince Charming will move clockwise around the board, and the person who manages to get Prince Charming to land exactly on Snow White's space by exact count will win. So that's it. You take turns moving Snow White until she falls asleep, and then you take turns moving Prince Charming until he wakes her up. It's almost like a group storytelling game without the story, where you move through the main beats of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, although the dwarfs do not feature at all in this game. So, an oddity, an old game in really nice condition, but really not something I think anybody would get a lot of fun out of playing. If you watched my last video about charity shop adventures, you will know that I found a board game based on the old TV series Tugs, which was in part devised by people who had worked on Thomas the Tank Engine. Tugs wasn't a great show, and it certainly wasn't a great board game, but let's see if we can do better with this Thomas the Tank Engine game from Waddington's. This dates back to 1984, and like the Snow White game before it, it is for 2 to 4 players and has a very narrow age limit. This time it is 5 to 11. Also like the Snow White game, this is 100% complete. let's take a look inside. And the first thing to note about this game is it has a lovely board. This is the kind of board that when I was very young, I would have stared at for ages, just looking at the little details, looking at the different train tracks, following the roads around the little houses. These were the sorts of boards that captured my imagination. Yes, the train tracks themselves are a little bit ugly, but I think that's in order to be functional as a board game. But all the little fields, the seaside town, the little houses, the bridges, that sort of stuff is absolutely lovely. And also, it has a little rotating turntable. To move around this beautiful track, you have 4 playing pieces. Thomas, of course, number 1. Henry, the green number 3. Gordon, the blue number 4. And James, the red number 5. And as you can imagine, this is a roll and move game for children, but it does have some slight nuances with the way that you move around the board. For a start, you don't have to roll exact numbers, so that's great. But more importantly, you're on a train track, you can't just turn round when you feel like it. For example, if I wanted to go along this route here, I can't just move to here and then go up that route. I have to go all the way down into the siding so that I can then reverse back up and then go along that way. Of course that works out because you are actually attempting to get to those sidings, because the aim of the game is to move around the board, collect all of your wagons and then make it all the way to the seaside town. And the way the game tracks which carriages you have collected is also incredibly neat. You start with a jigsaw piece depicting your train, and you can decide whether your train is going to be travelling to the right or the left. And that actually does make a difference, not in terms of the game itself, but in terms of how your train will look as you build it. If your trains are facing to the right, then you are collecting goods wagons. But if you are facing to the left, you are collecting passenger carriages. And while that has no impact on gameplay whatsoever, I do think that's a nice little addition. It's something else to capture the imaginations of the young children playing this game. It's another decision they can make to help them feel connected to what they're doing. When I play today, do I want to collect passengers? Do I want to collect goods? But those little touches are what elevate a game like this, because it is very much a simple roll and move game. A travel around the track, collecting the carriages and getting to the end first race. But those little nuances in how you move around the board, having to get to the sidings before you can turn around, and the building of these little jigsaws and the decision of which way you want them to face, just make it a little bit more special. While this is perhaps not something that children of today would enjoy quite so much, I can imagine a lot of children in the 80s getting a huge amount of entertainment out of this game. For what it is, I think it's beautifully put together and very, very nice. But enough of these 1980s kids games. We know full well that 1990 was where it was at, because that is when Space Crusade arrived. And look what I picked up at my local store. I'm cheating a little bit here. I did not pick this up in a charity shop. I actually picked this up in a second-hand retro game store where they were selling it for £30. I bought it pretty much sight unseen, thinking, one, there might be some better components for things that I have in my original copy that I can replace, but two, it actually has the second edition box art. The copy I have at the moment has the first edition box art by Jim Burns, but this is the second edition artwork by David Skew. And to be honest, I'm not sure which piece of art I prefer. Who knows, maybe I'll get it framed. My wife would be delighted. But anyway, £30 is what I paid, and I would say this is a good example of a parts copy. This is the kind of copy you see selling for probably way too much on eBay. It is not in any way complete. It does not have enough components to actually play the game. It does have some bits I can salvage, but unfortunately a lot of it is in poor condition, and a lot of the things I was really looking for aren't there. One of the main reasons I bought this is because I wanted another Chaos Dreadnought. I've got 3, I wanted another one, I'm greedy. But unfortunately, the Dreadnought was missing. In fact, almost all of the miniatures are missing. There's just a few Orcs and Gretchen left. I'm going to look inside the box, but before I do, I just wanted to point out the copious amounts of tape on this. There is tape wrapped around and around and around this box. And this is something to watch out for. If you saw this on eBay in photos, you might be inclined to think this box was in really good condition because that tape is not immediately apparent. But this box has been well reinforced with tape, and if you were to try and take that tape off, you're gonna have trouble. You could perhaps get it off with a hairdryer. I'm not even going to bother. I have my other box, which I will be keeping, but I will show in another video getting tape off of boxes, but this is a lot of tape, and that's something to watch out for. So I'm not going to show you everything that's in this box. I have got a full unboxing of Space Crusade on my channel already, where I talk through a lot of the common faults with purchasing copies on eBay, but I just wanted to point out a few things that are minor annoyances and so near and yet so far moments. For example, we have here an almost mint condition copy of cards. These cards are in such better condition than the set I have already, and I will be swapping them out. The only problem is one of the events is missing, so things like that are a little bit annoying. It also has all 3 of the marine dashboards, and these are always worth checking out because they split so easily, and mine are split. This one appears to be in really good condition, so I can probably swap that out because these are not that easy to repair. We will be having a go at repairing some at some point on the channel. But unfortunately, while this one looks like it's in really good condition, closer examination reveals there is actually quite a lot of damage, and that sort of thing is really difficult to deal with. So I will be sorting through these and picking out the best dashboards to keep. Almost all of the miniatures are missing. The only things that are there are a few Chaos Marines, a few Gretchen and a few Orcs. They are all pretty much badly painted. Many of them are broken, like this Orc here. And yeah, it's not ideal. What I was really hoping for was I wanted some more Gene Stealers because the old Gene Stealer models are cool, and I wanted another Dreadnought, but that is not to be. I was lucky enough that there was a single Space Marine Bolter in this set, which I did need because I was 1 Space Marine Bolter short from my original set, so I can complete that at least. Almost all of the tokens are there, and importantly, a complete set of dice. I will be keeping these, I'm not swapping them out, I am keeping them all. You can never have enough of these custom dice. There is a complete set of walls and clips, so again I will be going through my existing copy, swapping out the ones that have the worst damage, and keeping the ones that are the best. These actually seem to be in pretty good condition. I have mentioned before that things to look out for are creases above the arches of the doorways. Obviously that's a very narrow point. Any pressure on there will cause some bending, so quite often you will get creases in the card there. There is a very small one you can just see there, and on this one behind a much worse one. So it's nice to be able to sift through a couple of different ones and pick out the best. You will also notice that where the plastic clips go on, they can chew the card at the tops. We will be doing something about that in a restoration video in the future. However, some things are beyond restoration, like this board. Check that out. They have actually delaminated the top of the board, and then they have drawn the details back in with a black pen. One of the things about getting old board games from charity shops or from eBay is sometimes the boxes will tell a little story, and there's a certain charm to the fact that at some point this was delaminated and whoever owned this game drew it all back in. It's quite cute and it is interesting. I like those little stories that old games can tell. And there is another little story in this box that I just want to show you, something that is not related to the game itself, but an extra little bonus that I found in the box. Sometimes you get badly painted miniatures. Sometimes you get miniatures that have been converted in weird and wacky ways. The Marines have been given funny guns, the Gene Stealers have got weird heads. And sometimes you get a hand-drawn illustration of someone being shot in the eye and having their brains blown out the back of their head. This was obviously created by the previous owner of the game, and it was popped in the bottom of the box, and I think that is wonderful. That is Just a little treasure. I'm going to be keeping that in the box because I have not got the heart to do anything else with it. I certainly don't have the heart to throw it in the bin. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to preserve it in the box. I'm going to preserve that little story, that little moment in history, that little capsule when someone, perhaps as a child, thought, I'm going to do some artwork of my own in the style of the artwork from the Space Crusade rules book. Absolutely wonderful. But speaking of the Space Crusade rules book, there isn't one in this box. The mission book and the rules book are both missing. As I said, this is a very good example of a very poor parts copy. Sets like this do still tend to sell quite well on eBay. Probably for more than they're really worth because people are desperate to get those parts and those extra components. I think 30 quid is probably about right for what I've got here. There are enough bits that I can salvage to replace bits from my other set, and particularly I really wanted the second edition box art as well. So this wasn't a bad purchase, but not one of my greatest finds. It's got to be better than Snow White though, right? But that's it from me for now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this slightly bizarre video. If you have, please consider pressing the like button. If you really liked it, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.